Hello there, this is a quick video update on the campaign of terror, threats, isolation and blackmail that started in 2014, and quite clearly such a campaign of extreme sophisticated terrorism, as organised and determined as it is, would not be necessary unless there is something extremely serious to cover up. And I'll repeat that, I mean, such a serious and sophisticated campaign of terror imposed upon a cancer patient like myself who struggled very badly with the illness since 1994 and finally starting to feel better, I'm relieved to say, has been subjected now to a 5-year campaign of extreme terror. And I mean, that raises the question straight away as to why on earth do we need to start a full-scale war on people who have managed to reverse the symptoms of sinus cancer naturally. And that sends alarm bells ringing, and trust me, alarm bells are ringing, because what clearly seems to be the case here is that people who have discovered ways to reverse the symptoms of sinus cancer and put the disease in reverse are being either routinely assassinated, executed, or if not executed, then subjected, as I say, to these campaigns of extreme terror, isolation, in order to silence them and keep the cures hidden, covered up, and concealed as best as possible, quite simply because the people running this circus, and it is nothing more than a massive scam and a huge circus, and I'm referring to Cancer Research UK and the people that are working for them, who are actively, as I say, encouraging these campaigns of terror, assassination, or whatever it takes to silence people with the cure, silence anyone who's discovered little tricks like I have to reverse the symptoms of sinus cancer, so they can make more money, so they can basically just terrorise people flat out with the symptoms unhindered, which is exactly what happened to me in 1994. I was left completely in the dark. I was told by my doctor that even though sinus cancer is 5.8 million years old and we have millions of years experience treating it, apparently there is nobody around who knows anything about the illness, absolutely nobody who can shine any, even the dimmest light on how to reverse the symptoms or put a patient back onto the path of good health. So, as I say, this clearly points to a situation where the same people who are collecting money for cancer research are the same people who are subjecting me to this campaign of terror, and the same people who have assassinated people in the past, going back many thousands of years, to set up this cancer charity scam in the first place, which clearly appears to be a worldwide scam, an extremely ancient scam, and quite possibly the biggest racket on planet Earth. Now, until we see it or somebody starts to talk about it and mention it like I have, and there's some cracks appear in the illusion, nobody seems to see it. It's literally the elephant in the living room until somebody mentions something about it or points, says, look out, look over there. Nobody really seems to get it, but as soon as they do get it, they're like, holy crap, oh my God, yes, this is all absolutely true. Actually what this guy is saying, every last letter of it is completely true. The people with the cures have been assassinated. Anybody else who's talking is, or still around is being severely threatened and isolated, quite simply in order to terrorise the living shit out of people, the living daylights, in order to basically, yes, torture them. I mean, flat out torture in the same sort of fashion that I was in 1994, kept in the dark, routinely tortured with a view to severely mutilating them. And I personally have suffered mutilations as a consequence of this racket and this scam and this ridiculous campaign of terror that's been imposed virtually upon the whole earth. And the mutilations I've pointed to in other videos, but I'll quickly, like my teeth here, that's how my teeth, and it's changed the shape of my face slightly, which I consider to be a change or mild loss of identity. And as I say, all this points toward the fact that there have been other people just like myself in the past who stumbled upon just little tricks, little ingenious tricks to reverse the symptoms, and were promptly silenced, promptly executed, or promptly subjected to campaigns of terror in order to silence them so that they can carry on this big scam and collecting loads of money. And there seems to be pots and pots of money in this, of course, because as soon as you can bulge somebody's face out into all these different shapes, then tackle it with surgery and remove half of their face or whatever, there's huge amounts of money in this. You know, these people can be paraded around as victims here, there, and everywhere, and used to collect literally billions of pounds. And it, you know, might explain why cancer research charities are now collecting more money than any other charity in Britain. As I say, what clearly seems to be happening here is the reasons for this campaign of terror imposed upon me, which is, as I say, very sophisticated, highly organised, extremely determined, and completely unjustified from a compassionate point of view, or just a sensible, intelligent point of view, but I mean, only justified from the point of view of making money, terrorising people, mutilating people, and then using those mutilated victims to collect more money. As I say, nothing more than a disgusting scam that the public really should know about, because I think if the UK public, or the world public for that matter, were to find out that they've been giving their money away for such a stupid scam to exactly the same people who were terrorising people with cures, terrorising the same people who have found tricks to reverse the symptoms, and routinely executing anyone who can, as I say, tackle this illness sensibly and put a patient on the path to good health, shows only that this is the biggest racket on planet Earth. And what worries me is, as I say, I am only too aware of how this torture takes place, how long it is allowed to carry on for, quite simply because I was put through this same agony myself that started in 1994 with the development of these horrible symptoms and the dreadful consequences of these symptoms, which are just the terrible misery, decline in general health, inability to sleep, so you're literally driven mad by the lack of sleep, and inability to swallow or hear properly, frequent awful headaches. I was having fits on the floor trying to remove the blockage, even the occasional seizure, and just being told that, oh yeah, you know, by doctors, la 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 la, that's their trick, you know, Cancer Research UK are just like la 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 la, you know, yes, yeah, we assassinated everybody with the cures, we're terrorising, you know, terrorise the living crap out of anyone who knew how to reverse the symptoms. You know, we're making pots and pots of money, you know, and if you start asking questions, la 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 la, and of course, you know, the patient's just fitting on the floor in this terrible, terrible state while they're just sitting there literally using the symptoms to bulge their face into different shapes and just end that patient's life prematurely. And in my case, I was 27 years old. You know, that's a really young age to have your life, you know, put into this time warp, you know, and this put into purgatory. And such extreme misery, with no light at the end of the tunnel, and everybody just, as I say, in this la la la, everyone you turn to, not just your GP, but your family, your friends, everybody, you know, everybody's literally kept in the dark. And that is only, as I say, you know, just very revealing of the fact that this is a very ancient scam that goes back not just thousands of years, but quite possibly millions of years. Because the fact that sinus cancer is as old as the human race, and the human race we've just discovered is 5.8 million years old, and we've been walking around as creatures standing up, bipedal creatures standing up for 5.8 million years, shows that we've been battling cancer, sinus cancer, for 5.8 million years, and shows that by now we, you know, of course, should be very experienced. And the very fact that young people as like myself are 27 years old and turning around to their GP or ENT specialist, you know, only to be told that they don't have any single clue about reversing the symptoms, no idea what to do about this illness, that literally to them you could be talking about pigs flying, quite literally, you know, when it comes to reversing the symptoms. And as I say, all the evidence points extremely clearly to the fact that everything I've said here is absolutely true. This is an absolutely massive scam. And as I'm narrating this video, as I'm talking this video, you know, there's some other 27-year-old on the floor fitting, trying to remove this blockage, while I'm being kept literally under the thumb by these tyrants and these, all I can describe them as just Nazi dictators, really, who appear to have now got this monopoly on the business, and slowly over thousands of years, I suppose, you know, gained control of the world, you know, literally. As far as treating the lack of treating sinus cancer, and therefore this means that we have to make, you know, really some progress here we should be tackling these issues, I think, or trying to shine a light on what's happening here with a view to exposing this problem, to the public, to not just the UK public, but the world public, and let the whole world know what's happening here, because I can't see there's any other way of saving these people. As I say, there's some poor kid flitting on the floor as I'm narrating this video, and the only purpose of these terror campaigns and campaigns of execution are to keep this monopoly, keep these poor young people terrorised, keep the cancer spreading, keep their faces bulging out into all these shapes, keep everybody in the dark about what's happening, keep the money pouring in, and keep the business just growing and growing larger and larger, so that these people can just terrorise young people with symptoms, or anybody with cancer symptoms, unhindered, and in a growing sort of evolving business or scam that sucks in more and more victims as time goes along. And as I say, the whole thing is blown wide open now, because recent research, this is regarding actually a hip bone found in Africa, belonging to one of our ancestors, that have managed to date back to 5.8 million years now. And of course, from this hip bone, they realised that, doing a bit of research, that this creature was standing up. In other words, our ancestors were standing up, running about on two legs 5.8 million years ago. And what that shows us is that, they of course did occasionally get sinus cancers and suffer from sinus cancer exactly like we do as their ancestors 5.8 million years later on. So I'm here to tell you that sinus cancer is actually one of the most studied and researched illnesses from a humanitarian point of view on this planet. So we should, in theory, by simple logic, know more about this illness than any other illness on the planet. That's a fact. With 5.8 million years experience, I mean, how on earth can we turn around to a GP, a 27-year-old, you can turn around to a GP in 1994 like I did, only to be told by their ENT specialist or their GP that they know literally nothing, just zero, literally absolutely nothing about reversing the symptoms, or what to do about it at all, any small clue about how to tackle the dreadful consequences of the symptoms, or the lack of sleep, or any of the issues that were happening, lifestyle habits, absolutely no help at all. As I say, just nothing more than la 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 la. And after 5.8 million years of experience and hard-won expertise, supposedly, what's going on? So, as I say, I should be making more videos actually over the next few days. This is exposing what I've discovered, the simple little tricks I've discovered. I mean, I'm not saying they are completely fail-safe cures. They will work 100% of the time. It's 100% guarantee they will work. All I'm saying is that it took me a very, very long time to discover them, and they have had a extremely positive effect upon my health as far as reversing my symptoms. And quite clearly it would work. If it's worked for me, it would work for other people, I believe, who are suffering from similar symptoms. And as I say, I believe it just raises your chances of survival, raises your chances of reversing the symptoms, raises your chances of and probabilities of you surviving a great deal longer, extending your longevity, or the period of your life. And as I say, getting out of shark-infested waters as far as spending long periods of time in torture and misery, and just being basically nothing more than fodder for these cancer patient research people and doctors who all seem to be in the pay packet, which, as I say, is only making more money by the day at the moment. And on that note, I better wind this up, and I hope that you have managed to appreciate the points, and please leave any comments, suggestions, or anything that you can think of that you think might help, or similar stories, in the comments below. And thank you for watching.